Warning. This podcast is about to open the sealed section of spirituality. Hey you, yeah you, we see you, you divine human being.
And we are calling you to come home.
We are ready to talk about the real shit. We're going to get real about life as a divine human being.
The good, the not so great, spirituality and taboo. Divinely Human is the podcast that's all about what it means to be human in a spiritual context.
We know it's not just about being spiritual, it's about being human too.
And that means changing poopy nappies and channeling angels.
Sometimes even at the same time. It's time for us to stop making other people's noise our own soundtrack of life.
Let's make some waves together so that we can all ride them together and create deep resonance, a sense of home in this crazy world.
Pour yourself a coffee
or a glass of wine if that's your potion,
and sit down with your new favorite spiritual sisters
as we go on a journey together into what it means to be
a divine human being
on this spiritual journey.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Divinely Human podcast. I am Tanita.
And I am Alicia.
We are so excited to bring you another episode from our beds. We are bringing in the cozy, comfy, nourishing vibes. I am reporting with a completely bung eye, so you get that side of me today, which I'm really excited about. Welcome to my life. We're excited. We wanted to take a different approach this week. We had a bit of a reflecting session the other day after we recorded one of our episodes, and I was telling Alicia that, I feel like I switch into teacher mode, and we were saying how we both kind of feel ourselves slipping into teacher mode a little bit on those podcasts, and we went back to the root behind why we even started this, and it wasn't actually to slip into teacher, it was to slip into sister. So that's why we are shaking up the energy a little bit today. We're recording in a whole new environment because we really want to remind you guys why we started this podcast and remind ourselves. So the energy will be a little bit different. We want to invite you into the conversation and into just another conversation that, Alicia and I would have normally together. So that's what today is going to be. We're just going to let it flow, I think. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's needed. I feel like after that reflective moment we had last week, we both felt like we had such a big realization on to, why we're doing this and what we want to project. And I mean, we have so many other sources of, content and experiences where we do come through in teacher mode, but we really wanted to keep this podcast quite sacred in the fact that it is about us sisters just getting together, having a chat. So we are going to let it flow today. We won't be getting out the cauldron. No cauldron today, guys. We're just going to have a chat. And as Tanita said, I'm sitting in bed. She's sitting in bed. I'm coming to you live from spending the morning bawling my eyes out. So excuse my face. Don't give a fuck. And that's what we're here for. We're here for the realness, the rawness. And we could have canceled today. We were teetering on the edge of canceling, but we had to remind ourselves of our purpose here. So here we are.
Yeah, it's so true. And, I really loved that we did that reflection because even in our conversations, I notice we go into teacher mode for each other, which is really supportive. And it's just natural for us to do that. And you'll see us kind of slip in and out of that sometimes. And that's because we really do want to serve, everybody who comes into our lives. And we have spent so much time and energy and, invested so much in different teachings and learnings and investing in ourselves. So I think it's natural that we want to slip into teacher. But yeah, the one thing that really excited me about this podcast was the possibility of being able to show up in bed on a Monday morning with a bung eye. That's what excited me from the get-go. And
after a shithouse weekend.
woo, that's why we're here. So I'm glad we got to bring that out into reality, because this is like such a source of happiness for me, and connecting with everybody in this podcast. I truly love it.
So do I. And we kind of both, it was so funny because we both realized it at the same time last week.
Yeah, we did.
We were like, hang on a second. And I think too, it's really important to know that it's so natural to do that. And it's actually a really beautiful example of, everything we do in terms of, this spiritual space and stuff. Because I feel like I always kind of get off track so easily. This place is so fucking distracting. I honestly, it's so hard to carry out a task some days because you just get distracted so easily. And then all of a sudden you're like going along this path and you're like, hang on, that's not why I'm here.
Yes, literally. I honestly feel like I'm constantly in like a candy store. Like it's so many things like pulling me in different directions. Like I totally feel that. And so I think it's important to have spaces of reflection, especially with other people, because you find out so much about yourself, like, and it's really cool to be able to do that with people around you and just to be reminded of the vision that you're casting in a particular container. So yeah, I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, it makes me want to bring up what we were speaking about this morning in voice memos about, we both mentioned, well, Tanita mentioned first, you mentioned first, that you were saying you felt like you had slipped, into this full mode of learning again and wanting to just observe and learn and, stand in your curiosity and explore not just your connection to your ancestors, but just how you want to connect in this space. And I feel that so much. And I agreed. I feel like I'm going through that too at the moment, just stepping back into that, like just really wanting to become even more closer to who I am.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because sometimes it makes me feel like I have imposter syndrome when I come to that realization, but I'm like, no, Leash, this whole journey is just uncovering the layers, and there's nothing bad about continuously uncovering the layers and becoming closer to who we are. And I think it's going to be like it's obviously going to be a never ending journey, but it's a strange place to be in, this space.
Yeah, totally. I feel that so much. I heard someone say, who was an astrology teacher on some podcast, and he was saying, I love using astrology, but the truth is we never stop becoming us. We never stop looking through different lenses. Sorry if you can hear my watch going off. I completely lost my phone in the bed and I can't find it. So if you hear my phone go off, it's just where we are today.
Gone, it's lost forever.
I've got one eye. I'm just blaming it on my eye. But yeah, he was saying, we're constantly using different like tools and different ways to look at ourselves through a new perspective. So sometimes it's important when we've closed a chapter to really sit in that beginning phase. And that's where I feel like we both are right now, especially because we've just launched this podcast. We're doing so many like different things in our business. Like you have offerings that want to come through. I have things that want to come through. But the truth is we have to honor that phase of just being and letting our curiosity like lead the way. And I loved watching your stories, that live you did with the herbal magic and the rituals you were doing, because you just never know where inspiration is going to come from or where curiosity is going to come from. It's really cool. My dog just opening the door.
Oh, I thought it was the internet fucking up.
No, just
okay.
My dog can open and close doors.
All right. Tanita's wonder dog. I love him. Yeah, I have to agree. And I really love that. It makes it really special in being in this space, because sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, I think I was supposed to see this today because it really hit me. Yeah. Oh my God, hello puppy. Oh my goodness.
No personal space boundaries. Don't knock the computer.
Okay, for all of you guys who aren't getting the visuals right now, Tanita's dog just jumped up on her bed and then completely knocked her laptop over.
He's looking at it with his eyes again. Sit. Sorry, guys.
This is the realness and the rawness we were after, okay?
Yeah.
I think that we do stumble upon these things that just have such resonance for such, there's such a deep meaning, and the synchronicity behind that is huge, huge. And I love being constantly inspired by those around me. I'm the same. You inspire so much around, what you're doing as well. And I'm like, hey, oh my God, I resonate. And then I meet parts of myself through other people. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love what you said, like meet yourself through other people. That's so true, because the people around us are constantly reflecting things back to us. And you know what? Like we cut cords, like we've done a lot of energy protections, a lot of cord cuttings, a lot of cleanses lately. So no wonder like we're in this like new phase of like being in full mode, because honestly, like cutting cords is major for getting to know your own energy field. You don't know what you're carrying around until you let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I really feel that. And I feel like my whole body is just purging at the moment.
Yeah.
I know, like TMI, but I spent the whole weekend. I have my first period that I've had in 6 months. Secondly, I spent the weekend throwing up, like violently ill, and then I just spent the whole morning crying this morning. And I do feel like a huge part of that is that you and I have both been really consciously removing energy from our space that isn't serving us, that isn't adding to our journey or the abundance that we are receiving, or it's kind of blocking us. And we really have been, we've been like, we literally, okay, so just to make this like, so you can picture this, guys, we have been cleansing like so much. We've been doing cleanses for each other. We've been lighting candles. We've been like smudging. We've been every cleanse you can think of, we've been doing. Yeah. And we've just lately been holding such an intention of removing this energy because we have felt a bit of a heaviness. And I know the last few podcasts we've really spoken and hammered in that, if something's not serving you, remove it. And now I'm seeing it come through like an actioning itself, like this intention is starting to play out, which is really cool. And all of a sudden we've both gone back into this full mode. And it's, I don't know if you can agree, you can let me know after, but it's kind of put this, usually I would feel negative about halting my creations and the things that I'm working on to bring out. But it really has caused that, okay, it's not time yet. It's time to just step back, be in that full mode, that learning mode, that exploration mode a little bit longer, because you're kind of missing something. We don't know what it is yet, but you're missing like a few little things that you need to embody and bring through into these offerings that you're going to be putting out into the world. And I find it really interesting, and I feel really excited too to see what that is and to explore it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I feel totally the same. And that's right. Like holding intention is so, so powerful. And it's cool because you get to really witness firsthand how important looking after your energy is on your physical body too. Like we're nothing in this realm without our physical body. And you don't even know how much your body is processing, recalibrating, all of this stuff that we're holding in our field. And it's important to look after the physical world, our physical body. And yeah, I feel the same. There used to be so much pressure of momentum in putting out products, putting out services, pushing. And now it just feels like I can just kind of let it go exactly at the time it's meant to go. And I love that because there's such a beautiful peace now. And for me, since cutting cords, there's no more like, am I doing the right thing? Am I being the right person? Am I showing up like how I meant to? There's no like confusion around who I need to be in this space, like who I am,
Mm. I think it takes away the haste in pushing things out before you're ready, and it cultivates self-trust.
Yes. Oh my God. And that's massive. That's freaking massive. Like,
Those are two big foundations.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. And I know you and I both like made decisions to go into certain programs and then kind of regretted it. Like for me, I know that, I don't want to live my life with any regrets, but I wish I didn't have to go through that avenue to learn that lesson,
Yeah. Yeah.
That does cause like a lack of self-trust.
It can, because when we make those decisions and we end up feeling let down, or we work with someone and we feel like we've been manipulated or taken advantage of, we do lose a little bit. We kind of like, instead of, and it's crazy actually. I'm having an epiphany, guys. We automatically turn it around on us, and we lose trust in ourselves before we even reflect that out onto the people that are supposed to be holding this sacred, safe space for us, that is absolutely wild to me. And it makes me sad for us that as humans, we just automatically turn it around and go, oh, well, your intuition must have been off. You can't trust yourself. You can't make the right decisions for yourself. And now you've wasted all this time.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It shouldn't be that way, because sometimes it's actually, and I know this kind of gets thrown around actually. I've seen this. They're like, oh, if you're not happy, it's something within you. And I'm like, mate, I'm not happy because I've just wasted thousands of dollars in a program that I finished and it wasn't good enough. And they're trying to sign me up to the next $20,000 course. And I feel like I really haven't learned that many tools and I haven't been supported.
Yeah.
So I don't think the problem's within me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do we do that? That's so
it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's shit. We gotta stop that. We gotta stop the self-blame.
Yeah. It's not always reflected within us. It isn't. And that's bullshit. If anyone says that, that's just bullshit. It's like gaslighting. And it happens a lot in this space, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah. Same. Definitely. Oh, man. I feel like there's so much going on in this space. And I know we said this like the last couple of episodes too, like you do have to know all of the shadow to be able to alchemize it into light. So as heavy as being in this space can be sometimes, I think it's important for us to know and to kind of understand these experiences so that we don't continue to pass it on in our own circle and in our own kind of space that we're holding. And that's one thing that I'm really grateful for, and a big lesson I've been moving through this year is actually like you are holding a lot of space on social media, not even just through your products and services, just in the world. And it's important to have, for me to have intention and just be conscious around how I want to hold that and how I want to present that and what I don't actually want to bring into this space. And if that meant, a $10,000 course just to see what not to do, then I guess I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we do. We do learn through those experiences. And I kind of think that it's really funny because I have kind of experienced this to an extent in like through childhood. So I believe that certain experiences that we go through, you either learn what not to do, or you go with it and then you then exhibit that same behavior and you become a cut copy and you carry on like the not so positive, effects of that, and you carry it on. Because like same with, I've, felt this in childhood too. Like obviously I've seen stuff that, I'll be real, I've seen stuff that my parents have done that I don't agree with. And I could have ran with that. And I know that it is really normal to, as a child, when you go through trauma and stuff like that, you can either carry it and then relive that. And, it happens again for you in your life. But for me, I found that I was that person where I'm like, no, not going to be like that. Not going to be like that. when I'm a parent, I'm not going to do that, you know? And I feel like it's the same for every experience. You either disassociate and use discernment around not doing it, or it can be so easy to fall into that, you know, that cycle of bringing it into your energy field and you like utilizing those not so great, you know, aspects of it.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I wonder why some people, this is a question of my life, why some people do take on those negative attributes when they know it's negative. Because I'm very similar to you, like, but where I took the path of consciously choosing not to be like that and not to mirror my parents, you know, I see a lot of those attributes in other people in my family, you know, and I'm like, I wonder why it's like that. I think that's why I got into psychology, because I wanted to really understand exactly that. And I've never really heard anybody else put it like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah. It has to be some sort of, okay, so getting very like psychological here. But, and I do have a psychologist friend, I might actually ask her this. But my like guess is that it has to do with how we form our neuro pathways. It has to be like we all have to form them different ways, and perhaps maybe it's just like one or the other, or I don't know. But I think it has to do with our pathways in which we, you know, learn and establish how we respond to things. Because I know in my experience, I've worked with a lot of psychologists for my, you know, myself and my issues and trauma that I've been through, and listening to them speak about how those neuro pathways are formed. It's all about like, it's such a big process of reversing and unpacking them and then reestablishing them in like a new, more healthy way.
Yeah.
Has to be. Anyway, I'm going to ask her that.
Yeah, you should. I'd be so curious. I'm actually reading that book by Oprah. Oprah and somebody, Dr. somebody. What is it called? It's called What Happened to You. It's really, really incredible if you are interested in learning more about trauma, because it talks about how those neuro pathways are actually ingrained more so in the first, 7 years of our life. So even when you don't think that your children are receptive to the information around you, they're actually taking a lot more information than you would even realize. And trauma in those first, half of our life is a lot. It's so deep because it's building a foundation for our brain. It's being able to organize information, and it puts up a whole structure. So I just found that really interesting, and that probably does have something to do with it. But so I think it's so important to keep doing this work, even when you don't feel like it's necessary. And I'm not saying like, toxic self-help work, because I think it can become really toxic. But I think just being aware of who you are and what you want to hold in this world and the life you want to live, I think it's important to keep doing conscious work around that.
Yeah. It makes me think about, like, I had an experience this morning. I won't name any names. I had an experience this morning, and I guess in a way I was like seeking just a little bit of empathy of somebody, and their response to me was, that's just who I am. And I just thought to myself, I sent love first, and I just thought to myself, I just wish that, that we could all acknowledge that, this is just who I am. Like we're never just who we are, because we're always learning and doing the work. Like we never finish our shadow work, So if someone sort of comes to you and they're like, asking you to open up or like see something from a different point of view, or like embody empathy, or just asking to be seen, there's always an invitation there to unravel and to open up and to do the work yourself. Not saying that it's automatically your fault and you need to do the work, but it's still an invitation, like low key, an invitation to maybe be like, maybe I should look into that a little bit further. But there are a lot of people that think that, I've worked through my stuff now, I'm good. You know, man, we're going to be working through our shit till the day we die.
Yeah.
And then just burst into a new life. And then it's like, okay, now for the next round.
Here's a whole bunch of new lessons to learn. Go at it.
Yeah. And then still carrying not generational, but like past life trauma, you know, and that's really good kind of acknowledgement just there in that, because we do carry past life trauma. We don't even finish the fucking working through the trauma in one life because we carry it on to the next one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of work.
Look, I'm exhausted.
Literally. I know that there's a whole can of worms just waiting to be opened, but I love past life work. I love it. Like, it's what I love about the Akashic records. I think that was one of the main things that really pulled me into getting a Akashic record reading. Was like the first ever one I got was learning about my past lives, because I knew that by acknowledging any open wounds from past lives or unresolved lessons, that there are actually gifts that come on the back of that like piggyback with those things. And I really loved just learning about myself. I'm curious, like, do you know much about, I know you do, but why don't we talk a little bit about one of your favorite past lives? I'm so curious.
I did a big session on this, would have been the start of last year, because I was peeking into it prior to that, but I'd never really, I think I was subconsciously blocking it, because there actually are a few that, you know, carried quite a lot of trauma. But one that really, and I'm going to talk about one that brought through, I guess they all brought through gifts, like you said, but one that brought through like a lot of stuff that I see in this lifetime is a past life. And I know that a lot of women have had this past life, is, you know, being burnt, being burnt alive. So one of my past lives, I experienced that. And it's actually come up in another, I've seen this in my own records, and it really confirmed it, obviously, because we all have imposter syndrome. I had my records read by somebody else. It's actually another beautiful lady that I was doing the Akashic course with you. So we swapped readings, and she fed me the same information that I had already seen. And that was that I was being burnt, like tied up to like this a bundle of timber being burnt. But I was completely silent because I didn't want them to feel like I was scared or that I was in pain. The interesting thing is that what I've brought from that into this current life is that if I'm in pain, or if I'm going through trauma or extreme anxiety, I don't make a noise. I am mute. I don't if it's like intense, I don't cry. I don't shout. I don't scream. Obviously, I shout at my kids all the time. Like in real life, mama over here.
You were quiet through your childbirth too? Yeah.
So that's what I was just about to say. Like I've given birth twice. And both times I've gone through. So the first time I went through like I think it was 26-hour labor, dead silent, not even speaking, not even like a moan.
Wow.
Just silent. And then I went through my second labor, which was quite fast. It was only 6 hours, but also gave birth, like pushed him out without making a noise or like moaning nothing.
Wow.
Because I've carried that through from my past life where like I can't show that I'm in pain. Like I can't show that, like my dealing mechanism is to just be mute and not make a noise. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's because I was literally burnt alive in silence.
Oh my God, girl, the willpower on it though.
So that was really interesting. Another one is how I know my connection with horses is really special, and like my healing that I get from horses is I was a Indigenous American, like North American. I was a male, and we obviously were very connected to horses, and I was like kind of like a medicine man, but was very, very connected. And I used to channel like messages, like had this relationship with my horse where like it was almost like my spirit guide, but in like my physical life at that time, where I had that connection with him. And that's where my connection to horses comes from, and my healing as well, for part of my healing. And really interesting, but when I was a child, I swear to everything. I experienced like that spirit, that soul in another horse that I owned as a child. And what was really insane, because at the time, as a child, I had no idea about my past lives at all. I had no idea. What's really interesting is that horse was a paint horse, and its name was Apache.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that I only had him. He wasn't even mine. He was actually like loaned to us as a child only for a few months. And my connection with him felt stronger than I had with any other horse that I'd owned for like years. And when they called us up one day after a few months of me like riding him, they were like, oh, we're going to take him back now because like, my daughter or something wants to ride him. I broke down. I lost it. I felt like a piece of me was leaving me again.
Oh.
And yeah, I think I'm certain that that connection had come through again in that life, and he was like embodied within that horse. So that's really interesting.
Wow, that makes me want to cry, honestly.
I know. I just I think about how I felt when he was leaving, and I'm like, man, at the time, because we lived on a big property, all of my sisters used to ride. So at the time we had like, 8 or 9 horses. And a lot of them we'd had since, we could walk. So obviously that's a pretty strong connection. But this one horse that came to me that we'd only had a few months, that's what broke me the most out of any other relationship or connection that I'd had with my horses. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. It totally shows us that connection transcends just the human experience, right?
It does. It
Yeah.
does. I want to hear about yours.
Oh, there is a magic, honestly. I do have a similar story holding that witch wound as well. But for me, that lifetime brought up the sisterhood wound, where one of my family members actually like dobbed on me, I guess. But yeah, so there was a lot of healing around that, but I had to really experience things from all different perspectives. Like I've had to revisit that past life numerous times to really understand why she was my sister in that life, why she had to do what she had to do. And it was different times back then. So, but that carries a lot for me, obviously. And that was when you think about those times, even just like when and you see a past life like that, that it is still open when you can't even talk about it properly, right? Like
you get choked up. I can feel that coming through right now through the screen from you.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important for me to continue to do this work and like stand up and use my gifts, because for 20 years of my life, I completely shut my gifts off. And that's why, because I felt like I couldn't trust anybody, felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about what was going on. And a lot of the reason was because of that past life, because I couldn't trust anybody around me. Like my own sister in that past life betrayed me. So I think that the only way for me to heal that was to start my own business and to start educating people on it's actually safe now to be seen in our own abilities. It's safe now to communicate what's going on in your world, and it's not crazy anymore. I think taking that crazy label out of it has really soothed so much for me, because there was a lot of negative like connotations back then around, you know, she's just a crazy lady, she's just doesn't know what she's doing, like she's just out of this world. And especially coming into this as a Pisces, like we're already labeled like delusional and like dreamy and like off with the fairies. So I still feel like that sometimes, but yeah, it's just interesting. And another past life of mine, this was actually channeled by someone also who was in a Kashi sisterhood circle. I hadn't seen this past life before, but that's because there's a major block around it. But when she said it, everything kind of clicked into place. There was a time when I was in Egypt and I was quite high up in the hierarchy, and I had a lot of wealth, but there was a lot that of people I couldn't trust also. Anytime that I would share my wealth, it wouldn't go to the people that I wanted it to go to. So I was very generous in this past life, and I came to become aware that where I was putting my money wasn't actually going to good people. It was actually going to bad people who were causing harm to the community. And so now in this life, there's a lot of struggle with passing wealth around and sharing it with others. I like feel like I'm a hoarder sometimes, and it's just interesting because her being able to relay that to me was just eye-opening. And I didn't even know that I was doing that, because it's so ingrained, it's so unconscious that you need somebody else to tell. I needed somebody else to tell me so that I could become aware of what I was actually doing. And now I feel a lot more comfortable with just kind of holding money, because with money comes a lot of responsibility. And my deepest fear is that when I have all this money, am I going to do the wrong thing with it? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that makes sense too. Why you resonate with working with Victoria Washington so much too, because I know how deeply like that has like shifted stuff for you as well. And like as a person, I feel like you really gravitate towards her energy, and that just explains it, because you're here and you're healing that this lifetime. You're healing that. It's like a wealth wound.
Yeah.
That you carry, you know, and especially knowing that, or finding out that that was going to people who were causing harm, and being such a gentle, kind, giving person. That would have been like another form of heartbreak there going on, you know, and then obviously on top of trust issues with other people, like it's not going to funnel into a lot of trust this lifetime.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, it's interesting because this is why I love past lives. We get to see the same patterns that emerge. Like in this lifetime, I've had every single boyfriend bar this one, my fiance now, cheat on me. So just reiterating that I don't have trust in other people. And I believe that that has played out because I'm here to heal that. And I'm here to move through that wound. And I believe that that has come up so that I can become aware of that. And same with the financial wound. Like, I got kicked out of home when I was 17 and then had to go to university. I had to quit university because I couldn't support myself and I couldn't get government funding. And then I applied for 50 jobs, one of them being a financial planner, which I had no interest in doing. I just did it because they said I didn't need any experience. And out of 350 applicants, I got that. And you're like, why did that happen? You know, like, of course I meant to heal a financial wound when you start to recognize all of these patterns play out. And I think having a past life to give you some context to like sink your teeth into and understand from a different perspective can just help you like move through the wound in a whole new way. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Oh my goodness, I agree. And I'm just thinking about, your corporate job now, because I mean, essentially, you would be helping people decide where to put their money, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Which is crazy because literally you were doing that in the past life. You were funneling your money into certain areas and avenues and people, and then you were disappointed at the end and heartbroken. And now you're helping people also do that. So it's really beautiful point as well there that, when we move through our past life trauma or just blocks or anything that we endure in itself, whether it be good or bad. I really don't like that though, good or bad. It's like, not so positive. I think that we can have we have the ability and the access to be able to help others in that too. And that's what we're supposed to do as well. We're supposed to help each other in that. We help each other by moving through our own shit. We really do.
Yeah, totally. And this is just a reminder that, being like acting in self-love and acting in self-care is not selfish. It actually betters the world around us because exactly like you said, we're not just moving through for ourselves, we're moving through it so we can pass the lessons on to others and they don't have to go through the same traumatic experience that we have. And yeah, I always find that we're just getting more and more clear around why it's important to do this work and be in this space.
Yeah. Past life work it's such a key, isn't it? I feel like it's just such a key to unlocking this deeper understanding of who we are. And it kind of comforts us as well in a way in this life, because a lot of the time we can waste so much time sitting around going, why is this happening? Knowing about our past lives gives us that key, gives us that looking glass to really identify. I mean, obviously not everything is funneled from a past life, but a lot of stuff is. And things that will come up, some of it will be brought through by actions or patterns or trauma from a past life. And being able to identify that and look at that and acknowledge it, it takes the pressure off as well. And it stops us from kind of immediately placing that blame on ourselves for every single thing that happens. It's like, okay, it's coming up again. It's time to move through the lesson, again.
Yes, literally. How do you like to explore past lives? Like, what are your favorite ways?
So either I do it through the records. Another way that I do it that has been really interesting though is I did a meditation last year, but it was like, so this is after I'd already accessed through my records and I'd understood how I received messages. It was a guided meditation. It was like a shamanic drumming meditation where he took us through this. It was like 3 different doors, and 3 different doors were going to be doorways to 3 of our past lives. And he really firmly indicated that each door was from a specific time period, which was really interesting. He was like, this door is going to be 500 years ago. The second door we go through is going to be, I don't know, like 1,000 years ago. I don't know. And then the third one, so on and so forth. And doing that was actually one of the most powerful experiences of past lives. So that is, I learned about my Indigenous American life through that one. I learned about a past life being like a young boy in, it was like a third world, like, it was like a reminded me of like Vietnam or something, and I drowned as a young boy. But I was a really talented artist, and my family were really proud of me and like really loved. And then I drowned. That was great. It was just really interesting. And then my other life that I found out through there was, it was quite recent. It was like 1800 sort of thing, just being a woman, but being like super oppressed and just like living a life with no purpose and just dealing with it. So kind of negative, but yeah, that was really powerful doing that. But I find too, dreaming is incredible.
Yeah.
I've been really experimenting lately. So this is my newest favorite thing, is going to bed and consciously setting an intention before I go to sleep that I'm going to explore a past life, or I'm going to explore a past life in some aspect within my dream. Also, another great thing that I love using for exploring dreams is mugwort tea. Mugwort is incredible for like lucid dreaming, astral projection, or just like dreaming in general. It just opens up that, when we dream and we feel like it's kind of like we can't really see properly and everything's not really clear and it's all kind of foggy and it's like, I'm not really getting the whole story here. It clears it. And it's like, makes everything so real and clear. And you remember the tiniest little details about everything when you wake up. So I've also been using that, and it's been a big eye opener. So I'm actually really enjoying exploring, like within my dreams, different timelines and different past lives.
Oh, I love that. I have to try the mugwort tea. That's cool. Because I have tried doing the past life exploration through dream time, and I really enjoyed that as well. I think both of us have a very open third eye, so it's easy for our like imagination to kind of paint a picture for us. But yeah, that's really cool, using something like that to just help that gateway open a bit more. I'll have to try that. Because I love asking, like if I'm going through something, I'll ask my guys to support me before I go to bed and ask them to help me during dream time. So that's cool. And I love hypnosis. I love exploring past lives through hypnosis and through the Akashic records also. But sometimes when I'm feeling not very grounded or not very connected, I do like using oracle or tarot cards just to get some really specific information.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to explore.
There's so many ways. And I feel like we forget that we can use divination as a form of receiving information, not just one sentence messages or not just what the book says the card means.
Yeah.
There's so much, there's like this whole other aspect of divination that can supply a wealth of knowledge and support, like so much information to come through. But I think a lot of us kind of forget that we don't need to actually just read back what the book says. Like
throw the book out. Throw the book out.
Yeah, throw the book out. I'm actually trying to teach myself to throw the book out. Not with Oracle, but with Oracle, it's always been intuitive for me. I don't think I've read one book of any of the Oracle texts that I've owned. Whoops. But with Tarot, I have, and I always second guess myself when I pull a card. I'm like, oh, I've got to make sure that's like the meaning. I'm trying to like stop that. Lately, I've been relying too much on like the proper card meaning. I'm really trying to become a bit more flexible and like, I don't know, just a bit more wavy with it.
Yeah, I hear you. I always like preface it by saying I read tarot intuitively. So this might not match the traditional like meaning, but for me, it's not. Like because I've stuck with that the whole time I've used tarot, and I rarely have read the traditional ways. Like I've learned about them, and I, anytime they do come up, I do read them when people post about them, but I really intuitively read tarot. But for Oracle, I feel like I need to read the book because they're all so different. So that's interesting.
That is so interesting. Wow. Also, I haven't, just going back to what you said about hypnosis, I've never, ever.
Really?
I've never tried it.
I think you'd like it. I mean, I think you'd like it if you like, maybe not. Maybe if the control thing is switched on. Maybe in a day. That's why I'm like, it would be a good lesson to learn around releasing control.
Yeah, I feel like it would be.
But sometimes I get lazy. Like that's why I like it so much, because I just like letting someone guide me and just letting the images come to mind and like being put in there. But yeah, it wouldn't be good for people who liked control and who like to lead their own kind of experience.
What sets it apart from like a normal guided meditation?
It's
out of interest. I'm so curious.
It's accessing your subconscious mind. So they put you in and they do specific techniques that actually allow your conscious brain to like sleep almost, or kind of just act as a viewer, and it allows information from your subconscious mind to be very clear. So it puts it down between the two.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I feel like to really receive, we need to be in that state. Hey.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh.
You'll have to try it. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up a few and see, because I think that's a sign. And I do need to let go of control. I'm such a control freak.
It's easy though. We want things to go a certain way, and
I know. Bloody Virgo.
Yeah. Also, I was so curious. Do you know much about human design?
No. That's really funny too. It's something that I'm constantly seeing, but for some reason, I just don't feel connected to it yet. Maybe I will one day, but for some reason, it doesn't hit me as hard as astrology or any other modality, and I don't know why.
It's not for you at the moment. I felt like that for a long time, and then recently someone told me, based on your design, you shouldn't make final decisions within 48 hours of somebody asking you the initial question. Like you should wait a full cycle.
I got that too. I wonder if we're the same, because a friend looked into it for me as well. Yeah. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, never make like split decisions. Don't do it.
And that's what intrigued me. And I was like, okay, what else do I not know? But I'm the same. I love astrology more, but I was just curious if you knew.
Well, what's interesting is you still have to put in your like birth date and time, because I think astrology comes into it somehow.
Yeah, they don't reference it at all, but I think they have to be connected.
If they need your place of birth and time of birth and year and date, surely astrology comes into it.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm just because obviously with astrology, and I know we're probably talking about chalk and cheese right now. They're very two different things, like astrology and human design. But I feel like we know how astrology gets the information. It's literally like a map.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm interested in is how and where and who came up with human design, and like where did this information funnel from?
And like what's the system behind it?
That's my logical brain going off to. I'm like, I need the blueprint.
Yeah, I know. That's interesting.
And I'm not dismissing it. I'm actually just really curious. Wow. It makes me really curious into how it works. And the things I've heard though have been really eye-opening, like the stuff that has been relayed back to me when people have briefly looked into it for me. I'm like, wow, I really resonate with that. Maybe I should get a proper like full-on reading done. But yeah.
It's
definitely interesting.
It is. Any human design experts, you should let us know. How do you do this?
Yeah. See, for me, it feels so complex. I know that I will never, ever study it. It seems just so overwhelming. Like I don't have the capacity to.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, I'm like, it just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy to
Yeah.
immerse into researching that myself. I can't. So I think I would definitely get a reading, like a proper big reading done one day. Yeah, just to see.
Yeah, same. For me, I'm more curious in astrology at the moment, but it's
Yeah,
been
me
coming
too.
up so much human design lately. I'm like, what is this? I have to
It's kind of just boomed out of nowhere the last 18 months, I feel.
Yeah, it really has. Power of social media.
Yeah. Yeah, the online space. I feel like it, when things get momentum, it's like, oh, now let's all get involved, which is really cool. Just like this circulation of information it's really cool. Because
Yeah.
something that maybe you felt passionate about but you never saw in the world is maybe now in the world and you're like, yay!
Yes.
People are talking about it.
With like witchcraft and channeling past lives.
Exactly.
It's seen.
It's healing. It's healing.
Yeah, it is.
As I think that the things that we feel passionate about, obviously we are connected to them through past lives a lot. So a lot of us, the things that we're doing now, we've done in past lives and we're drawn to it again. We're creatures of habit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally. Oh, this was nice.
yeah, I really enjoyed today. I felt like was just a nice chat.
Yeah. Just another one of our voice memos. Welcome to our world. Literally.
Just an hour-long voice memo. If it doesn't cut us off.
That's what we should title it. Honestly, there have been so many times where I press record and if my screen isn't locked, and I lay down, it stops recording. I'm like,
oh my God, me too. Or if I have low battery and the screen goes dark and then it locks and then I'm like, oh my God. It happens to me all the time when I'm either listening to a voice note off you or I'm sending you one.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I think I've listened to one 5 times. By the end, I was like, oh my God, I can't even keep all this. My screen just kept going black.
What kills me is that if I'm sending you a voice note and it requires and I genuinely feel either emotional or I'm feeling into something at the time, I'll be like, oh my God, it's happened. And then it doesn't record, but then I'm over it and I'm like, oh, I've got to pretty much rehearse this scene again. So I'm like, okay, record. Oh my God. I'm like, wow, it's like Days of Our Lives, having to do the scene again.
Literally, because you want to be real, but it's like I have to redo the realness. And it's kind of feels weird.
It's like I'm redoing the realness, but now it's just completely inauthentic and it's literally an act.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I feel you.
Oh,
That's
real life stuff.
Today's problems.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. Well, this has been really wholesome and I've really enjoyed just stripping back this episode and just chatting, just having this beautiful free flowing chat. I feel like we need to do this more often. I'd love if the listeners would give us some feedback on how you found this episode in comparison to some others that we've done, because I know that it has been a little bit different. We haven't had one specific topic. We've just let the conversation roll. So please let us know, how you found this and if it landed for you and if you enjoyed it. We would absolutely love to receive feedback. If you guys would like to put topics in, feel free. Just send us a DM on Divinely Human Podcast on our Instagram. But yeah, this has been really, really fun.
Yeah, it has. And we were also spitballing ideas the other week, and I was curious to see who would be interested in something we're going to call Wise Wines.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them a little bit about what we were brainstorming?
Oh my goodness, Wise Wines. So wait, no, you do it.
Why? Okay. Like, yeah, no, I changed my mind.
No, only because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get all my words out because I felt excited. So I'm going to let you do it.
Okay, great. I'll contain the excitement. No, we were exploring different ways to connect with you guys and to open up just a whole new world within this space, a whole new segment within this space. So we were wondering if anybody would be interested in coming and sitting down basically with us on one evening night and having wise wines with us, where you would submit topics or questions and we would answer from a completely vulnerable, just real space, but they would be tailored to you and your experience. There's a lot more that goes into this, obviously, but that is just the kind of basis of it. And I just wanted to put feelers out there because it's going to be a really chill environment. This is seriously just a space where you get to ask your sisters in this space for their advice, their take on something, any guidance that they have, because we do want to be able to support you. But again, the whole reason for this podcast was to bring together community, and we still want to serve you and put on teacher mode and like supporter mode, but we want to do it in a controlled environment, and we want to do it in an environment that actually supports you as an individual, not just like blanket statement, the whole collective, you know? So let us know what you think.
Now I know why. I'm pretty sure my guides were like, no, let her speak. Because I was just about to speak like before when you were like, do you want to explain it? And I'm like, yeah, no, you do it. Because I don't think I could have put it across as well as you just did. I'm really, really hoping that this is a go, because I feel like to hold space in this way would be really beautiful and really wholesome and real.
Yeah, definitely. And
fun.
I think so. It'll be really fun. We'll have our guard down. We will not hold back the truth. Like, we're excited to just support in a whole different way. And I think we're just over seeing like copycat containers where you know, submit a question and it's answered for the whole collective. Like, we just don't want to do that. We want to support you as an individual, you going through your own life experiences and challenges and healing wounds. And like, we've heard it all, and we can support from two different perspectives. And I think that's what's really exciting about this. So
yeah, we'd love to know if this would be of interest to you guys. So let us know. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. We are really looking forward to chatting again next week. So sending everyone love, and we will chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.